Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR, HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Welcome to the launch of the Dr. Theresa Nicassio Show. I am so happy to be introducing you to this new program, which is going to be a place of inspiration, of education, and most importantly, of hope for a more compassionate and sustainable world. We're breaking ground with this show. And just to give you a little overview of what the show is going to look like, is each show is going to have a guest or guests who are going to be sharing from their hearts their experiences, and they're going to be talking about what they've been touched by in life, or maybe agendas or initiatives that they're making a difference for the planet or for their health or for different populations. And it's a really beautiful time for them to speak about their stories, and they're willing to share it with you, the listeners, so that you can also be inspired. So anyway, I'm excited about that. That's one piece of the show. And another part of the show that you can expect every time is going to be an opportunity for you to ask questions. And those are the questions that will be responded to throughout the show potentially. But in particular, there'll be a focus called Because You Asked. And I have been getting questions sent to me by email, by messaging. There's even been questions that have come in through social media. So lots of questions have been coming in, and that's what's inspired this whole segment. And so people can send those questions in, and then during that segment, we might respond to one of your questions that you send in. But in addition, which is not relevant for today or the next couple of shows, but starting in January, once we go live for doing live broadcasts, you can actually call during the show and ask questions of the guests. You can ask questions of me, and it can be right in real time, which will be a little extra fun. So that gives you a little bit of the overview of the show. And then I should also mention that the show is sponsored. Each show is sponsored, and today's program and the segments are brought to you by me, yours truly. I'm just getting this show launched, and so I'm at the point now of keeping my arms open and life open. If there's others who share the vision for helping the world become a more compassionate and sustainable place and bringing more hope into the world, and also maybe want to feature their goods and services and so forth that are relevant to the vision of the show, then that would be something that would be great if you could contact me. And you can contact me directly at Theresa at TheresaNicassio.com. And actually anybody can contact me with your questions for the Because You Asked as well. Or you can contact me through my website, which is TheresaNicassio.com. And that's Theresa with an H and Nicassio with an N like Nancy and two S's. So it's TheresaNicassio.com. So I look forward to hearing from you, and again, if any of you or if you know of anybody who might be interested in supporting the show, that would be absolutely amazing. Anyway, I'd like to shift gears now because we have an amazing show before us, and we have some guests who are going to be shifting how you think about a lot of things, in particular how you think about tragedy and despair. That's really the theme of today, I'd say. Is we're going to be talking about despair and transforming it into something much more delicious. And so the words that we're going to be having, Paul is one of our guests today. Hi, Paul, you there?
Yes.
Oh, great, Paul.
Theresa? Thank you very much for having me.
Great, Paul. So I'm going to do a little bit, say a little bit about your story, Paul, but then you're going to really have at it. And so Paul is joining us. Paul Henczel. That's Henczel. Z-E-L. And Paul's here along with his wife, Jennifer. But Jennifer, we're first going to be focusing on Paul, and then we'll be shifting gears a little later and during the show to Jennifer. But Paul is going to be sharing about his incredible story. It's a riveting story of how in 2010 he was literally crushed alive by 12,000 pounds of weight. I mean, this is totally insane. He was not supposed to survive. So we are talking to someone who had angels, obviously, in his life, and we'll hear more about his angels as well. But what he did is he's going to be talking a little bit about his accident, but not just how he lived through the impossible, but he's also going to share with you as well, ways that you can shift your story from one of tragedy to one of triumph. I love that, Paul, by the way. Tragedy to triumph. I'm going to steal that. Given his experiences, Paul is committed to and passionate about helping other people on their journeys, and he's especially been doing a lot of public speaking for groups with individuals who struggle from disability, physical trauma, brain injury, PTSD, as well as other injuries. But in addition, he has generously put his time and love into writing a book about his story and to inspire people and to teach people what he's learned to help others, like you, change your lives. And the book is called Miracle in a Mill, Crushed Alive. Miracle in a Mill, Crushed Alive. Anyway, and then after we talk with Paul for a bit, we're going to be hearing from Jennifer, because obviously these things don't happen in a vacuum. Paul is married, had kids, and we're going to hear Jennifer's story about what it was like to have her partner and the father of her children crushed alive, and witnessing him go through his journey and how it transformed her life. So it's going to be a really wonderful show. So, Paul, thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
So, wow. I mean, seriously, why don't we just begin by you sharing a bit about your story? Like, what happened? I mean, how could this have happened?
So the day was February 9th, 2010, and that was my son's 16th birthday.
16th birthday. Oh.
Well, I was working as a supervisor in a sawmill, and 3 hours into my shift that day, I had to unjam a giant log that got stuck.
Oh.
The logs we were cutting, they're called cans. They're 14 inches thick, 21 inches wide, and each piece weighs at least 1,000 pounds.
Each
and
piece.
It was my job to keep production moving. It was a very fast cut.
Wow.
I made a decision to crawl into a tight, confined space because I had to manually free up this cant that was stuck against the steel beam. So as soon as this log was free, someone turned on the machine and the chains started moving.
Oh, my God. I saw that picture on your website, Paul, before you go on. I saw that picture, and I was thinking, how in the world could he have actually been in that kind of position? And so now, I as you're describing it, oh my God, you must have been terrified.
Yes. It was unbelievable in that moment because I could hear my body cracking, gurgling, and crunching.
Oh my God.
And it felt like my head was going to explode because there was so much pressure. And in that moment, I thought to myself, if this doesn't stop, I'm going to get ripped into two pieces and die.
Holy.
At that point, I blacked out, and my coworkers then performed miraculous feats of strength to rescue me from that machine.
Seriously?
By the time they freed me, I was not breathing, and they all thought I was dead. I had now been unconscious for about 12 minutes. Right before they were about to perform CPR, miraculously, I started breathing. But the immense pain was overwhelming.
Wow.
I was fighting for every breath, and I literally had to tell myself to breathe in and then to breathe out.
Wow.
I was rushed to the hospital. I was in agony, and the ambulance ride was horrific because I could feel every bump and vibration throughout my spine. When I arrived at the hospital, I was told directly by the paramedics and the doctors that my organs were failing. I had an anoxic brain injury, a punctured and collapsed lung, multiple broken bones, and soft tissue damage.
Holy, so Paul, just to clarify, were you conscious then? You became conscious. So you were conscious through all that from after. So 12 minutes you were out, and really out, and dangerously out. We'll hear more about that, I'm sure. But you were conscious during the whole like ambulance ride and all that.
Yeah.
Oh my! So you were like being tortured alive.
In a way, there was a lot of confusion and panic, and I think that kept me awake because the paramedics couldn't find a consistent pulse.
Oh, okay.
And so I was disoriented, and I wasn't really understanding what was happening, but I was curious as to what, like, all the confusion was,
right.
Because, like, in that moment, I was conscious. Like, I knew I was in an ambulance and going to the hospital, and that I had been crushed.
Wow.
So
it's like hard to imagine what was going through your mind, especially at your son's 16th birthday, and wow. So how did you get through it, and kind of what kind of strategies helped you?
Like in the hospital, there was a time where, like, there were so many doctors, and the panic that was happening, I really felt I was going to die in the hospital again, and I couldn't take much more of what was happening. And at that moment, I was touched by an angel. That angel was my wife.
Oh, my God.
She's my best friend and biggest support.
Now, that gives me shivers. Okay, go ahead.
We're soulmates. We're deeply in love, and we've known each other most of our lives, and I can't describe in words what her presence meant to me in that moment, but I felt her love. And that, I believed, kept me going.
Wow. And so she physically was there then?
Yeah.
Wow.
And my face was unrecognizable to her because I had been bleeding out of my eyes, ears, nose, and mouth.
Oh, my God.
And I had a lot of severe and deep bruising. Like, everything was still critical in that moment, but knowing I wasn't alone gave me hope.
Nice.
And so that kind of, for me, set the stage that I could do this. Like, I had my biggest support with me.
Right.
And so that meant everything to me. So in the hospital, there came a point after a while where I had to make some important decisions when I was recovering. And I knew I wasn't paralyzed. So against all odds, I first chose to sit up. And after I sat up, I believed I could stand. And then very slowly, I walked. And that's when my recovery began.
So when did you walk?
Hey?
How long after the accident were you walking?
It was probably a day and a half.
You were already walking a day and a half after. That seems almost impossible. That's another miracle.
It is.
So many miracles. Holy moly. So you're saying that's when things started to shift. So you talked about, you mentioned how you turned your tragedy into triumph. Can you talk a little bit about that?
There were 3 steps that I noticed I went through in my recovery, and each step has strategies that helped me in overcoming adversity and moving from surviving to thriving. The first step was doing what was necessary. And I had to teach myself everything all over again.
Wow.
From, like I said, sitting up, standing, and walking to everything else. And learning how to do everything again, I learned a lot about myself, but it helped understanding the different parts of the learning cycle.
Right.
And
Well, was there any brain damage with that since you were unconscious for a while?
I do have like a brain injury still, and a cognitive disorder, severe PTSD, and like multiple other physical injuries.
Mm-hmm. So you get it. Yeah, it's like you get this from. Anyway,
that first step, like doing the necessary and understanding the different parts of the learning cycle, really helped. Like those include disturbance, chaos, letting go, and learning. And when I was able to let go, it allowed me to accept what I could and could not do.
Yes, so acceptance, is that step 2? Or is that still part of 1?
Letting go is step 3.
Okay.
Necessary, that's step 1. There's different parts of the learning cycle.
Yes.
Letting go is that third part of the learning cycle that really helped me get unstuck from those uncomfortable disturbance and chaos stages.
Yes.
And that was very freeing for me. The second step that I noticed is after doing what was necessary, I started doing what was possible.
Ah, possibility thinking.
Yeah, so I started doing what I could do until I could do more.
Right.
Kind of pushing myself along the way. And Wayne Dyer, I love this quote that he said, if you believe it'll work out, you will see opportunities. And if you believe it won't, you will see obstacles. And from the start, knowing I wasn't alone, I just knew that things would work out, not knowing exactly how. I just believed it would.
Yeah.
And after my accident, I started practicing more positive mindset strategies, such as visualizations, positive media, meditations, and positive affirmations. I would post some positive affirmations on my mirror when I woke up every day.
Right. And as I recall, you mentioned on with the material you sent me, and I went ahead and posted it, I don't know if you know now, on my website, the link, so that, because you're giving a special gift to people, right, of some of your positive affirmations?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
and go ahead.
The listeners want to go to storyacademy.ca.
Storyacademy.ca. So it's .ca, not .com?
Yeah, .ca. So Story Academy, all one word, .ca/300. Then they can sign up to receive my free gift, and that's 300 affirmations for your life.
Beautiful. And again, so you got it's the Story Academy/300. And if you forget that, and after the show, or you tell someone about it, you can access it through my website. There's a profile page now of Paul as one of the guests that you can access and be able to get the download there. They'll take you right to his website and so forth. I also have on there some of his social media websites, because you might want to follow him, and also information more about his book and how to get to his book, and he'll talk about that as well. Great. So we don't have a whole lot more time in this segment, Paul, but I think that you're talking about those 3 steps are really key pieces, aren't they? And so through all this, and you mentioned Wayne Dyer's beautiful quote, which is awesome. Is there anything you would want people to know?
The main thing is that the best strategy people can do is tell their own story and embrace the unique parts of their story. When I started doing that, it helped me get unstuck and helped make connections with other people, because they wanted to tell me their story in response to mine. I wasn't just empowering myself, I was empowering others when I started telling my story.
There's huge power in that story.
And that helped me work through the necessary and the possible, and then I was able to achieve what most would consider the impossible.
Yes.
And like I started with focus, and I didn't let all my disabilities and challenges stop me from reaching my goals.
Yes.
So when I focused on what I can do, not what I can't,
yes,
I recently graduated with my bachelor's of business degree.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And authored my first book, Miracle in a Mill.
Wow. That's beautiful.
And telling my story and focusing on what I can, it helped me, I would say, like, crush my can'ts. Because before my accident, I was being crushed by can'ts. Like, yes. I would tell myself I can't get myself unstuck or I can't fulfill my dreams.
Yes. So you crushed your can'ts. Beautiful. Well, we're going to be having to take a break here. But thank you, Paul. And when we come back, I'd like, there might be more things you want to share. We can get both of you on the phone. But we're going to come back after the break. We're going to have Jennifer, his wife, come and share from her angle, her perspective, what it was like having her partner, the love of her life, and the father of her children crushed alive and come through it, and how it transformed her. So, well, guys, don't go away. We'll be right back.
Being inspired by a speaker while learning everyday positive information that you can use to help your life is exactly what Dr. Theresa Nicassio does when she speaks in front of your group. From healthcare professionals to special needs parenting and everything in between, Dr. Theresa Nicassio can customize topics for your group on everything from health to psychology. To book Dr. Theresa Nicassio as a speaker for your group, visit yumfoodforliving.com or call 604-445-6463. That's 604-445-6463.
For all your live or pre-recorded webcasting needs, come to earthchannel.com. Get your web-based message out to a select group or the whole world. It's easy. A pioneer in webcasting, earthchannel.com provides the best products and services to big corporations and government users. And now this same technology is available to you. They have the best Earthcast encoders, servers, and products to meet your technical needs. But wait, don't want to mess with technical stress? No problem. They'll do it for you. EarthChannel.com is your answer. You can use webcasting for lots of things like advertising, marketing, customer support, training, and don't forget web radio and TV. In fact, you're listening to a live Earthcast right now. So come to EarthChannel.com. Actualize your audio or video webcasting needs today. You can't beat the friendly service or the price. Call earthchannel.com at 1-800-849-8978. That's 1-800-849-8978.
Yumfoodforliving.com is the place to get easy allergy-free recipes, all free of sugar, gluten, and dairy. But that's not all you'll get when you visit yumfoodforliving.com. You'll get resources for all kinds of things like wellness articles, videos, podcasts, a blog, all to help you create easy, healthy living. There's even a 50-page downloadable book introducing you to the philosophy of yum. Don't wait. Visit yumfoodforliving.com. Yumfoodforliving.com. That's yumfoodforliving.com.
If you like to spend your television viewing time learning about some of the things that you may have missed in history class, or if history was your favorite subject, then you should check out the link to the History Channel on the HealthyLife.net advertiser page. Order DVD sets by series or by subject matter right from our homepage while you still enjoy your favorite HealthyLife.net show.
You're listening to HealthyLife.net, the radio network that brings positive talk with positive change to make your world a little better.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Dr. Theresa Nicassio Show, a place where kindness, compassion, and courage, boy, we're hearing a lot about that in the face of adversity, is celebrated, and where guests are sharing their stories of how to make lemonade out of the lemons that life gives us. And for those of you who are just joining us, we've been listening to a man, his name is Paul Henczel, who wrote a book called Miracle in a Mill, Crushed Alive. He was literally crushed alive by 12,000 pounds of wood. And now coming with us after this break here is his wife, Jennifer, is going to share her story. I mean, Paul talked about how she was his angel when she touched him and he was in the hospital. So, Jennifer, thank you for being here and joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having us, Theresa.
Sure, and I'd love it if you, I'm sure the listeners would love to hear what it was like for you. You know, it's like you're a mom and you're a wife and this man you love, and you get the news. I mean, how did you find out about this? And just share a little bit about what this has been like for you and how it's transformed you in your life.
Oh, well, thank you for letting us share. I mean, it was really something. I was at work at the time. I was working for a nonprofit and managing a nonprofit at the time, and I got the call at work, and, you know, it was devastating. And they offered to come and pick me up, but I thought that would take longer, so I said, no, I'll drive. And you know what? We were having the Winter Olympics here in Vancouver at that time, and as I was trying to get to the hospital, the Olympic flag was going through. And so I kept getting rerouted and couldn't get to the hospital right away.
Seriously? Oh, my God. Yeah. That's like from a movie, isn't it? This could be a movie.
Yes. And then when I got to the hospital, I asked for Paul Henczel, and they said, no, there's nobody by that name here. And so it took a lot for me just to get to him. And when I finally got to him, when I finally reached the room he was in, I didn't recognize him. He had blood had poured out of his, you know, it had been squished out of his ears, eyes, nose, mouth, and his eyes. And he was just covered in blood, and his chest was all crushed in, and I didn't recognize him as a person at all.
Wow.
And so when they told me it was him, and I just went up and touched him and talked in his ear, and he seemed so happy to see me, but he looked like he was in so much pain. I wanted to help him so much. You know.
Wow, so, that's just amazing. I mean, what was happening inside of you? I mean, it's like, because who called you?
It was his boss.
Okay.
And his boss told me I need to get to the hospital right away, and it wasn't all positive in the beginning because they thought his organs were failing from a crushing accident. It releases a certain chemical and affects all the organs, and it was not going well in the very beginning.
Wow. You must have been terrified too.
It was terrifying. Oh. Yeah, it was really terrifying. Yeah. But Paul has always been a very, very positive person, and he's too modest to say himself, but he's an outstanding husband and father, and he's well liked in the community. And he had built quite a community around himself through coaching sports and announcing sports and other things in the community. And so within the first week or so, and they would have kept him in critical care, but there was a number of problems in the hospital, and we had made the decision to bring him home. So we, in the week to follow, we estimated we had about 100 people pass through our house just to see Paul, to give him words of encouragement.
So community really came together and support, huh?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So, so for several weeks after the accident, I was just exhausted, and coincidentally, a few months later, I had been laid off, and mostly I had been just a part-time entrepreneur up until that point.
Wow, and so you lost your job. Your husband gets crushed, and then you lose your job.
Yes. Yes. So it was quite a trying time. And it seems like the most unlikely time to decide to become a full-time entrepreneur, but I also had to drive him around to a lot of appointments and really care for him. And that was hard to do working full-time, so I jumped in with both feet as a full-time entrepreneur. And I got most of my clients through networking, and 3 of my favorite networking groups closed down all in 1 month.
Oh, my God.
So it was quite the year. It was quite the year. But I decided, you know what? A lot of people were encouraging me to start my own group, and I decided I would do that. And I started with one group 4 years ago, and I started it with the philosophy of collaboration rather than competition.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to create a community like the one I saw that rallied around Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many of us are isolated. We're getting stuck behind our computer screens or any of our screens, and we're just getting stuck and being isolated. And so I wanted to create a group that was a circle of support for entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started with that one group then after his accident, and now I have 14 chapters around BC.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, just on a more personal level, what was this, when he was how long after the accident, when you were afraid that he may not survive, did you find out he was going to survive, and then what was that like going through that and the rehab and raising your boys, because you had then a 16-year-old, and how old was your other child?
Our daughter at the time was 19.
Wow, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just trying to make ends meet and be parents, and
Yeah.
And so what was that like on that soul level, Jennifer, you know?
Well, it was a struggle, you know. It was exhausting. These kinds of accidents really affect families, and it definitely affected our family in every kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
It was really difficult. Paul he could just barely walk a short distance within the house. And, you know, mostly he was there and needed to be cared for. And we didn't get much support from the medical system. We had to really dig for answers and manage that situation. And so that takes a lot of planning and time and just making sure that he was cared for and that his injuries were being looked at.
Yes. Yes. So you just had to be on full on, and you talked about courageous. You took this big leap into being an entrepreneur without, you know, and so you just leapt into the net of community. And then unfortunately some of those communities fell through, it sounded like, but you're like, okay, well, I'm going to create my own community.
That's right, exactly.
Wow. So
you know, Paul's always been such a very positive person, and I really, from what I have seen and observed from his side, is that his positivity is what has carried him through. His positive attitude that he had.
Yeah, that carried him through. Is that part of what helped you carry through as well?
Absolutely, yes. I just, you know, on the day of, when I was driving and I couldn't get to the hospital because of all the situation that was happening with the Olympic flame coming through town, I said to myself, I am not losing my best friend today.
Wow.
And he's just my best friend.
You just clear, I'm not losing my best friend.
Yep.
And you've known each other since you were how old?
Since we were kids, maybe 9 or 10.
Seriously. Wow. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for sharing your story. And just real quick, again, again, it's on my website, but what's Paul's website called again?
So,
storyacademy.ca?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, storyacademy.ca. And you have something. What's your website for what you're doing with community? If people want to check it out, what's that website?
So it's connectnowbusinessnetwork.com.
Okay, wonderful. And what I'll do is I'll add that to the website, so that on my website, so people are sure to have it. So if you didn't catch that, you can always go back and find it there, no problem. And goodness, thank you. The power of community really comes through. So don't go away. After we get back, we're going to be talking a little bit about answering your questions. And I'm also going to be sharing a little bit about my story and why I've even got this show that you're listening to right now. So in a moment, I look forward to chatting with you more. Don't go away.
There's a book that makes it so easy to embrace a healthy, gluten-free lifestyle, even kids will like it. Filled with heartwarming stories, food as medicine health tips, easy allergy-free recipes, and creative culinary inventions, the award-winning book Yum by Dr. Theresa Nicassio is your source for all of this and more. So make gluten-free living easy, tasty, and fun. Get Yum, plant-based recipes for a gluten-free diet at Amazon.com. Or visit yumfoodforliving.com. That's yumfoodforliving.com.
What does HealthyLife.net and Amazon.com have in common? Well, they're both available on the Internet. They both give great value. But most important, most of our positive program hosts and guests are accomplished authors, and their books are available from, you got it, Amazon.com. Now, it even gets better than that, because when you're listening on air to a HealthyLife.net host or guest, you can go directly to Amazon.com and you can order your book while you're still listening to your favorite HealthyLife.net program. So when you hear an author you like, go to the homepage of HealthyLife.net and click on Amazon.com.
When you have a food allergy or dietary limitation, Dr. Theresa Nicassio knows it's hard to give up the foods you love, so she decided to put on her chef hat and give you affordable, personalized culinary consultations that will light up your taste buds. You'll explore substitute ingredients so you can enjoy your favorite foods again. She'll even help you make food preparation easy and guide you on your path to healthy living. And to get started, all you have to do is call 604-445-6463. That's 604-445-6463.
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
YumFoodForLiving.com is the place to get easy allergy-free recipes, all free of sugar, gluten, and dairy. But that's not all you'll get when you visit YumFoodForLiving.com. You'll get resources for all kinds of things like wellness articles, videos, podcasts, a blog, all to help you create easy, healthy living. There's even a 50-page downloadable book introducing you to the philosophy of YUM. Don't wait. Visit yumfoodforliving.com. Yumfoodforliving.com. That's yumfoodforliving.com.
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
Welcome back to the Dr. Theresa Nicassio Show, where we celebrate the hero in you. We're just hearing about this heroic life of Paul Henczel and his wife Jennifer getting through being crushed alive. On the show, we also like to focus on working together, this sense of community, and how as a community, as together, we really can make the world a better place. So what I'd like to do today, especially since this is the launch show, is I figured I should let you know a little bit about who I am, because I'm kind of an unusual bird. I bring together, I'm a psychologist, I'm a mom. Those are kind of relatively normal-ish things. But I also, became involved in a lot of other kind of healing modalities, which has, because of the combination of what I do, has led to just droves of questions coming in for me that I've been responding to, emails and messages, and it's grown and grown, and so I now have a column, a magazine column called Because You Asked in Blush Vancouver magazine. That's one of my two columns. The other's Mindful Living. But where I'm answering questions for people in that. And so you may wonder, well, why would people be asking this person? Who is this Dr. Theresa Nicassio? So anyways, I'm going to share a little bit more about that. And at the outset, I should mention that you can learn more, obviously, from my book, Yum Plant-Based Recipes for a Gluten-Free Diet. You can learn more from my website. But I'd like to start with just sharing a little bit just about a few tidbits here. As I mentioned, I'm a psychologist. I've been doing therapy for almost 30 years now. And I love, love, love my work. I loved working in the study of the soul, and even as you hear the stories of people, I see this radio show as a bit of an extension of sharing from the inside what people have to share from in their worlds and bringing it into the outer world. But also, it's kind of funny. Even though I've never loved cooking, I ended up writing a book that has won the Best in the World award as the best diet book. I don't even believe in dieting, and the book's actually not about dieting. I became a gourmet raw food chef. I became an advanced raw food nutrition educator, and so it appears as though I do a lot of things around food. And you'd think that that's really what I'm about, and the truth is it's not, but it's an important piece that I think you want to know about. But also, having written this book that's all plant-based and gluten-free and sugar-free and allergy-friendly, heart-healthy, anti-cancer, diabetic-friendly, most people assume that I also am vegan. And I just want to set the record straight right off the top. I am not vegan. My daughter became vegan when she was 12 after watching an Oprah Winfrey show with Alicia Silverstone. But I do eat a largely plant-based diet for health reasons, and also it just makes me feel good. That's part of the health piece too. My orientation is that I do not promote any particular way of eating, whether you eat meat or don't eat meat, whether you eat grains or don't eat grains, beans or don't. I don't care. I'm about possibilities. I'm about being open to that we all have different bodies. It's called bio-individuality, and I really think it's important that we each honor our own special needs, whatever they look like, as well as the special needs of our children if we have them, in helping them live a healthier and happier life. So those are a few things that I do. But then, just to see if I can do a lot of things, it's not because I had planned to do all these things, but I mentioned that I have a story. And my story is that in 1997, when I had my daughter, I became very, very sick. and didn't know why. And long and short, after 12 years of not knowing and becoming quite debilitated, I later discovered that it was actually food sensitivities and gluten, the gluten specifically, and as well as other food sensitivities like to dairy and so forth. But before I discovered that, I really was just trying to figure out what to do. And so in that journey, I ended up studying everything I could about health and alternative health. And I ended up going through a 3-year program. I became an integrative energy healing professional. I went through cranial sacral training and actually became part of the teaching team, did some teaching with that. I studied lymphatic drainage. And then for the past 10 years or so, I've been very actively involved with the visceral manipulation curriculum. And then more recently, in the past 5-6 years, the neural manipulation. I can't talk. My mouth is betraying me. So working with the brain and the nervous system at a very concrete level. And so these sound really pretty crazy. I mean, not many psychologists, do work, and not many psychologists find themselves twice choosing to take a course with fresh cadaver dissections, where we learn about the body from the inside out and do with fresh bodies that have not been preserved. So I'm telling you this because I want you to know that you can talk about anything with me, literally, whether if it's graphic or however it is, because I think it's all important. So those are some things that I do, some of the many things. But when I put it all together, when you think about, who am I? Mostly I'm a kindness advocate. I'm passionate about kindness and inclusivity, compassion. This is really what I think we all need, and community, coming together to work together. And Paul was talking about being touched by an angel when his wife touched his hand. It's that essence. So anyway, I think that this is all very important material, because there's many people in our society who are judged or otherwise harmed or just left behind by our society, and it could be because of physical, social, sexual, gender, or cultural differences, as well as it could be a special place in my heart. It's for people who are struggling in life due to having challenges like related to emotional disabilities or cognitive or developmental. So Paul was mentioning how he has PTSD and cognitive challenges. These are oftentimes invisible challenges that result in people not having the kind of social support, the angels in their lives that can make the difference. So I just wanted to share a little bit of this with you because after the break, we're going to be going into your questions, the Because You're Asked Us segment. And again, with that, you can send in questions to me, anything you want about life, love, happiness, parenting, gardening, pets, food, cooking, living with food allergies. Any of that's fair game. And you can get to access that from my website at Theresa.com, and again, that's Theresa with an H, Nicassio with an N and 2 S's.com, Nicassio. And go ahead and send those in, or if you'd rather just email Theresa at TheresaNicassio.com, you can send those in. So we'll be right back, and again, we'll be talking about your questions.
Being inspired by a speaker while learning everyday positive information that you can use to help your life is exactly what Dr. Theresa Nicassio does when she speaks in front of your group. From healthcare professionals to special needs parenting and everything in between, Dr. Theresa Nicassio can customize topics for your group on everything from health to psychology. To book Dr. Theresa Nicassio as a speaker for your group, visit yumfoodforliving.com or call 604-445-6463. That's 604-445-6463.
If you're like the 8 out of 10 women that say finding jeans that fit is a problem, well, your problem is solved. Lee Jeans has done extensive research, and they have jeans that fit. There's even an online Lee Fit Finder so you can find the right fit for you. Imagine jeans that instantly slim you with a custom fit and no gap waistband. And guys, kids, Lee has jeans for you too. Click through to Lee's Jeans on the HealthyLife.net advertiser page and get what fits.
When you have a food allergy or dietary limitation, Dr. Theresa Nicassio knows it's hard to give up the foods you love, so she decided to put on her chef hat and give you affordable, personalized culinary consultations that will light up your taste buds. You'll explore substitute ingredients so you can enjoy your favorite foods again. She'll even help you make food preparation easy and guide you on your path to healthy living. And to get started, all you have to do is call 604-445-6463. That's 604-445-6463. There's a book that makes it so easy to embrace a healthy, gluten-free lifestyle, even kids will like it. Filled with heartwarming stories, food as medicine health tips, easy allergy-free recipes, and creative culinary inventions, the award-winning book Yum by Dr. Theresa Nicassio is your source for all of this and more. So make gluten-free living easy, tasty, and fun. Get Yum, plant-based recipes for a gluten-free diet at Amazon.com or visit yumfoodforliving.com. That's yumfoodforliving.com.
Radio your way. HealthyLife.net.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Dr. Theresa Nicassio Show, where we celebrate life, love, and happiness, while also acknowledging the challenges that are a part of living. Earlier in the show, we were hearing from our guest Paul Henczel, who was crushed alive, and he shared about his story and the theme of really overcoming. Despair, getting crushed alive, that can create a pretty despairing experience. And so I'm mentioning that because in this segment today, which, as I mentioned earlier, comes from people who send in questions, or those, when we do have live segments, you can always phone in directly during those, which will begin on January 2nd, our live broadcast during the initial shows. But today, the question that came in that I'm addressing for this Because You Asked segment comes from Abby in Abbotsford. So Abby wrote to me, she wrote, "Dear Theresa, how can you be happy when you feel like the world is falling apart? Thank you so much for your support. Any thoughts you may have mean a lot to me." So I first want to say thank you, Abby, for your question, and I hope you get to hear this or see it, because I also wrote it in my Blush Vancouver response a little bit about this. So this question about despair is so universal. Every one of us, at some time in our lives, usually more than once, find ourselves overwhelmed by either something that happened, maybe we lose someone, maybe we, like Paul, we get in an accident, we lose our health, we lose our cognitive functioning. It might be related to something that happens in the world. It can be there's big tsunamis, there's earthquakes, there's political decisions that are made, or different things that happen where you feel like you feel disempowered, like there's nothing you can do, and you either feel trapped in your body or it's just really hard. And so that feeling of despair can be pretty overwhelming. And so I want to acknowledge that there's some additional reasons for why this happens. I mentioned how I'd like to study the body, is that when we have highly loaded emotional experiences that happen, the blood flows in our brain actually change. And the lion's share of the blood goes then to our hindbrain and midbrain, our emotional brain and the survival brain, but not so much to the cortex. So what does this mean? We have terrible things happen, and then we feel stuck. We don't know what to do. And so what oftentimes I've noticed, Abby, is that is that we sometimes end up doing things that maybe aren't so good for us because we're human, and because if we can find things that we've associated with feeling good or feeling better, whether it's drinking alcohol or using drugs, or really commonly reaching for foods that, the comfort foods that we've typically associated with feeling better. A lot of times those can take the form of junk foods. So we can do these things which in the short term might temporarily make us feel a little bit better, but in the long run they don't really serve us in the big picture. But I really want to acknowledge that this is happening partly because we don't get as much blood to the parts of our brain that help us be resourceful to be able to do other things. So I'd like to offer a few tips, because this barrage of feelings and this coping strategy, this emotional dysregulation, can be that can create other problems, because then we can feel like, oh God, this terrible thing happened, and then look, I ate a whole bunch of ice cream or whatever it was. So some of my tips I'd like to give you, Abby, to help. There's many more, but these are just some really literally brainless tips, since we don't have that much access to our brain. That's helpful. But the first is really what I'm talking about here, is to be kind to yourself and realize that when you're overwhelmed, when there's things that feel like it's too much for you to handle, that you may not be at your optimal coping. In fact, you probably won't be. So be kind to yourself and don't have expectations to be different than you are. And secondly, and this is huge, and it relates a little bit to what both Jennifer and Paul were talking about. Second is seek support. So you can't cope well. It's like, okay, where can I find a net to land in? Where can I find arms to go into? Where can I find a hand to hold? And so seeking support, and it can be from professionals, it could be from friends, it can be from trusted family members, people who can just listen. Because being able to tell your story is huge. It's huge. And I'm not going to have time to go into the details. I'd like to focus on this another time a little bit more about the power of touch. Because when we are in that place of despair or extreme fear or overwhelm, that touch seems to transcend all of that. As Paul was mentioning, it may have been part of what helped keep him alive. He was literally touched by his wife, by the angel. It's also another reason why I'm so committed to the importance of having our arms open to everyone and being more inclusive, so that everyone has that privilege of being touched and being supported that way. So again, there's some amazing research about the power of touch, which we won't go into today, but that's another thing, is seek support, including touch. And a third tip is to distract yourself. So, again, we're not talking about doing anything rocket science here. Get out of the environment you're in. Get a change of scenery. Go for a walk. Kids can be an amazing distraction. They can be so obtuse in some ways and make you laugh and help you for at least a moment have some places of thought, where the thoughts can not be so overwhelming but can have a space for breathing, and so forth. So that's a third thing you can do. And the fourth thing you can do is roll with the tides. I mean, if you're going to be prone to eating kind of comfort foods, emotional foods, find and build an arsenal in your kitchen of some comfort foods that are healthier for you, healthier versions of the food. So maybe instead of having chips, you might make sure you have some kale, and you can throw together some kale chips, or if you want to make some treats that you could freeze. I mentioned in my cookbook, it's got lots of really healthy versions of comfort foods. You can use that, or any other book of someplace. Find recipes that can meet that need, and that way you can allow yourself the comfort foods and not beat yourself up so much, and so that you don't feel so guilty, because the guilt then causes other harm. Anyway, those are a few tips for you, Abby. And for the rest of you, again, send your questions in. It's wonderful to address your questions here in this Because You Asked segment, and you get to it from my website. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
there's a book that makes it so easy to embrace a healthy, gluten-free lifestyle, even kids will like it. Filled with heartwarming stories, food as medicine health tips, easy allergy-free recipes, and creative culinary inventions, the award-winning book Yum by Dr. Theresa Nicassio is your source for all of this and more. So make gluten-free living easy, tasty, and fun. Get Yum, plant-based recipes for a gluten-free diet at Amazon.com or visit yumfoodforliving.com. That's yumfoodforliving.com.
Shh! Over here. Here's a secret for a virus-free computer. ESET. They've been a pioneer in the antivirus industry for over 25 years. 25 years of innovative, top-rated antivirus protection. ESET's award-winning security solutions provide a safe online experience for over 100 million home and business computer owners. They are so affordable, fast, and simple to use. So be gone, you blue screen of death. ESET's on my computer. If it's not on yours, visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on ESET now.
When you have a food allergy or dietary limitation, Dr. Theresa Nicassio knows it's hard to give up the foods you love, so she decided to put on her chef hat and give you affordable, personalized culinary consultations that will light up your taste buds. You'll explore substitute ingredients so you can enjoy your favorite foods again. She'll even help you make food preparation easy and guide you on your path to healthy living. And to get started, all you have to do is call 604-445-6463. That's 604-445-6463.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Dr. Theresa Nicassio Show. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Before you forget, be sure to download Paul's free gift from the website. He's got the free download of the affirmations. I think it was 300 affirmations that helped him move through the day that he's wanting to share with you. So no worries if you missed the web address, but you can find it on my website, the link, TheresaNicassio.com, on the page profiling Paul, one of the radio guests. So until next time, be kind to yourself and remember what Paul mentioned about focusing on what you can do and not what you can't as you move through this next week. So goodbye for now. I look forward to next time.